Mumbai bump my annum, as I woman annum, as an ever, a master. If you say ever, she bought a beer, I will see on South Africa, oh, no, Dano.
If you be a band of the say, in the head, a siwa. Now, me feel, I'll make a source of any man, a summer. I'm a say, a day. To Dominica, a buy, Bedriano, Defino, a carnina. Cars now, and also about happy to them is a car is kind of cane. A car a day woman say, you got penny, and then you got carnady. A say, it's a say, and no quite for to room. Come this car crashing, semi, say, we say they are a gibato. The sicker, the car, the big bias.
They are crossolo. To the worst, one side, their preacher, train the Castle King, the rest of January at home. Yes, I'm more bump in my criminal. Cause that's a dream to be earlier. Yes, also Mumbai bump in my annum. As I woman annum. As an ever, a master. If you say ever, she bought a beer, I will see on South Africa, oh, no, Dano.
If you be a band of the friend say, in the head, a siwa. Now, me feel, I'll make a source of any man, a summer. I'm a say, a day. To Dominica, a buy, Bedriano.
Hello, good evening and welcome to this edition of Hot Edition live on 3FM 92.7 FM. I'm Bernice Abubedu Lansa. Coming up tonight, another downpour, massive floods in Accra as authorities renew promises of tougher enforcement against illegal development and poor planning. Questions remain about why years of intervention have failed to solve the capital's flooding problem. We'll take a closer look at Accra's perennial flood crisis, the factors driving it, and why successive measures have fallen short. Also coming up, Bono Regional NPP Chairman Abronye back in remand as court rejects his application to vary bail conditions. You want to stay for details of this? But shortly, you'll be hearing the news summary from Safwa Boahim.
And welcome to the news summary segment. Our first story now in Western Regional Secretariat of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union GPR2U has dismissed reports suggesting that public transport fares will increase by 20%. The union has described the announcement is not sanctioned by the appropriate authority. Speaking in an interview with We News on June 4, the Western Regional Chairman of the GPR2U, Joseph Simons Kujo, stated that the National Secretariat had not held any discussions with the Ministry of Transport regarding a fare adjustment and therefore could not have approved any increase. So a second story where Minister for Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation, Samona T. George, had disclosed that the government is preparing a policy proposal that would require users to verify the identity before accessing pornographic sites or websites in Ghana. Speaking at the 4th African Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family Sovereignty and Values, the Ngo Pram Pram MP said the proposal is intended to prevent children from being exposed to explicit online content. A Nigerian trader away from that, Adapis, has been sentenced to 7 years imprisonment by an Accra Circuit Court after being convicted on charges of human trafficking and immigration-related offences. The conviction follows an intelligence-led operation by the Ghana Immigration Service Asankragua Sector Command, which led to the rescue of 2 victims aged 21 and 13 from alleged exploitation. Away from that, too, a new wave of debate has erupted over the anti-LGBTQI plus legislation, where the Coalition of Muslim Organizations Ghana, COMOG, revealing that the new version of the bill completely shields wealthy financiers, sponsors, and advocacy groups from criminal prosecution or arrest. In a press statement issued on Thursday, June 4, 2026, and signed by its national president, Haj Abdel Manan Abdel Rahman, the Islamic umbrella body expressed deep concern that the law was quietly weakened before its final passage. To our last story, where the Ghana National Fire Service GNFS has confirmed that no firefighter was injured while battling the devastating fire outbreak that occurred near the Accra Central Police Station on Wednesday, June 3. The public relations officer of the GNFS, Alex Kenati, disclosed that the injured officer remains the only casualty recorded in the incident, which destroyed a building and its contents due to the intensity of the blaze. And this brings us to the end of our news summary segment. And over to you, Bernice.
Thank you so much, Safo. Thank you so much, Safo. And now to tonight's biggest story. Another round of devastating floods exposed Accra's vulnerability to heavy rainfall. Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Oklu is promising tough action against indiscipline, illegal development and poor planning practices blamed for the city's recurring flood crisis. The pledge follows Wednesday's downpour, which submerged major roads, cut off communities and left a trail of destruction across several parts of the capital. The floods also coincided with a building collapse at Adenta New Site and a major fire outbreak in the central business district. In a statement, the regional minister expressed condolences to families affected by the floods and fire and acknowledged that weak enforcement of regulations, unauthorized development, indiscriminate waste disposal and encroachment on waterways continue to undermine efforts to build a safe and resilient city. She says Accra can no longer continue on its current path and has announced a series of immediate measures aimed at strengthening compliance, improving public safety, and preventing future disasters. Now, let me just run you through what these measures include. There'll be an audit of ongoing and recently completed multi-story development, a removal of unauthorized structures on waterways, drainage, reservations, and other public spaces, stronger enforcement of planning, building, and environmental regulations, enhanced development control, through the Regional Spatial Planning Committee, tougher sanitation enforcement to curb indiscriminate waste disposal, expanded citizen reporting mechanisms to expose illegal development and environmental violations. The minister also says these interventions will be implemented without fear or favor as authorities work to build a safer, cleaner and more resilient capital. The announcement comes just days after President Mahama argued that Accra's flooding problem is less of an engineering challenge and more of a problem of indiscipline, citing illegal construction, poor waste disposal and disregard for planning regulations. Let's hear him.
The flooding in Accra is not an engineering problem. It is just a problem of indiscipline. We have drains. Everybody says, why don't you do sealed drains? But the problem is when we do sealed drains, people drink sachet water, they eat papaya in those styrofoam plastics, and they just dump them anywhere. And these plastics wash into the drain, and they go and block the drain. And so if you have to unclog the drain, you have to remove all the drain covers and clean it out. You clean it out, you cover it again. In the next 3, 4, 5 months, they have clogged again. But that is not even the major problem. The major problem is the location of Accra. You have the Kwapim mountain range and you have the Atlantic Ocean. Before people came to Accra, you had the Lafa stream, you had the Densu, you had the Sakumo stream, you had the Kole stream, you had the Odor stream. All of them were rainwater that falls in the mountains that flow through to the Atlantic Ocean. Then you come and build a city in the path of those streams. What do you expect the streams to do? It will go back into people's houses. Our traditional rulers are selling plots in streams. And so the stream has nowhere to continue. So it will flood your houses and flood houses of people behind. Now when government takes action and begins breaking people's houses out of the waterway, the same people will say, hey, about tomorrow, hey, obi fie fe send you bubono.
So that's President John Dramani Mahama there speaking about what is influencing or leading to the floods in Accra. Now, let's get onto the phone lines and speak to Bright Afedo. He's assembly member for Nana Krom and is one of the areas that was badly hit by floods in the Adentan municipality. Good evening, sir. Really grateful for your time. So we understand that people could not access their homes last night. They were cut off, roads were flooded. But tell us more that you've discovered from your assessment.
Okay, thank you also very much for engaging me. Actually, what you just said was true. People are not able to actually access the roads, especially from School Junction to Gate. They were not able to access the road because the gutters have been full up with rainwater and spread on the road. So that also happened yesterday.
Right. The residents tell us that this is a recurring problem, and they have actually alleged that in some instances the assembly has been alerted about this issue. What's your response to that?
Yeah, it's true. Every year this actually happens. For example, last year, it happened on the 18th May. That was 2025. It happened. It was very, very disastrous. Your station was available to cover the disaster. And this year too. And then we also remember 3rd June, that was 11 years ago. It also happened severely. So it's something that happens frequently. And one of the major factors to do with human activities, building around the water bodies and also filling the gutters and also building on it. And most often also rubbish also in the pouring rubbish into the gutters also causes all this. So it's something that the Assembly has taken a lot of action against. Sometimes most of these people do not have even building permits to build along the gutter lane. They don't have building permits. But because there's so much urbanization in the system, people are moving in and out. They are just building anyhow. As the President said, chiefs are giving out lands that are not meant to be sold. And this all factors that causes the flooding in our area.
And Mr. Apado, you have said that you've taken action and you have largely blamed this on human activity, but that's why the Assembly is there. And so tell us, give us examples of these actions that you have taken to ensure that this recurring problem is really solved.
So, for example, most of these people, some of the actions that are taken is that the Assembly does not give them permits to build over there. What we are also calling for as an assembly mind and most of the committee members is that there should be a demolition of those who have built along the river banks who do not have permits to build over there. Also, the assembly also does yearly dredging. This year, for example, before the rain started, we went to dredge the main gutter, which is where the bridge is at Gates. We went to dredge that place. So if not for the water coming from the mountains, which is the Abronye Mountains, coming downwards, because we are at the receiving point. So whenever it rains at Abronye, and it doesn't even rain at Nana Krom, we still experience flood. So most of these things are what we are also calling for, that there should be a massive demolition of buildings that are along the gutters. Most of them, even when you see them physically, you will see cracks in between them. So the community is also calling for massive demolition exercise to take place. As we speak, yesterday, for example, the MP was around. We went around the whole area to sympathize with the people, and we met with the 48 engineers where there was the collapsed soil building. And they told us that they'll be coming around to do integrity tests of most of those buildings, and then those who are on the gutter lane, they'll try and then demolish them.
You keep saying there should be speaking to something that should happen in the future, but you just told us that in 2025, in May, this occurred. So between that time and now, beyond the dredging that you've spoken about, what exactly was done to deal with buildings in waterways?
So what was done, to my knowledge is that, how do you call it? NADMO had come to mark most of the buildings as we speak. NADMO has come to mark most of the buildings that are along the river banks. So they are only waiting for the directives, as I was told, that they are waiting for directives from the top to also come in, and then...
And they did this marking last year or just after the rains this year?
That was after the last year flooding.
And we have spent an entire year just waiting?
An entire year. So these are some of the things that is happening. The system is actually not working as it should be. Because, for example, last year, when it flooded, a whole bridge that links two communities together was broken. It has to take a demonstration letter to the MC for the bridge to be constructed. As we speak right now, the bridge started within 2 weeks now. They just started constructing the bridge 2 weeks now. Since last year, it got broken.
I'm grateful for your time, Bright Afedo. We'll continue this conversation as we pursue a lasting solution to the flooding situation in Accra. But we've also been joined on the line by Alhaji Mohammed Abubakar Tafaram, a senior officer, Inspectorate Department, NADMO headquarters. I'm grateful for your time this evening, sir. So we just heard from this assemblyman who, in his specific locality, the issues about really taking the bull by the horn and solving the problem. What is your latest briefing on the impact of yesterday's floods across the city? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, KFM.
Yes, you're welcome to Hot Edition, sir. I perceive you didn't get my question, so I'd ask it again. We're having conversations about the flooding situation in Accra. What is your latest briefing on yesterday's floods across the city? Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Are you getting my question, please?
No, I didn't get your question.
I was
can't hear
asking,
you.
can you hear me now?
Yes,
Right.
I can hear you.
I would like for you to finish us with details of your initial assessment of the flooding situation yesterday.
The initial assessment of the flooding situation in Accra is not good at all. It's very, very bad. Simply because we have two factors that are causing flooding in Greater Accra region. It is both natural and man-made. Most of the areas that got flooded are flash areas that is known to NADMO from the previous years, or in the past years. We know that those areas get flooded anytime it rains. But in recent times, filling of wetlands or building in watercourses has become the norm of our people, because if you go to areas like Tema Community 5, Tema Community 12, the Ramsar site at Tema West, Adenta, Nanakrum areas, most of those areas are areas that receive flood waters from the Ebri Mountains, because Accra is a low-lying area, and most of the flood waters from the area sent down to those areas and then gradually discharges into the sea. But in recent times, people have filled those areas with laterite and buildings there. That is what is exacerbating the flooding in Accra.
Right, Mr. Tafaram, this is not to dispute what you're saying. We know what the problems are, but that is why the Greater Accra Regional Minister led a team of officials to demolish buildings, for example, at the Ramsar site and others in Tema, at Sakumono, and in other places. We know, for example, at Waja, there was some demolition as well. So if these demolitions have happened and we're still seeing these problems, does it not suggest that we should be looking beyond?
Hello?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. The demolition is an ongoing exercise. It is not a one-day event. It is something that is ongoing.
No, I appreciate that. But I'm asking if what has happened so far could not mitigate the level of flooding that we saw yesterday. Are we looking at dealing with other issues like plastic waste pollution? Because in some of the videos we see storm drains heavily choked. There are also issues about estuaries, connecting or allowing these waters to pass into the sea. Have we dredged all those ones as well?
Yes, like you asked, it is multiple problems are the causing is what is causing flooding in Accra. Because number one, I mentioned human factor. Number two, I mentioned natural factor. So, dumping of refuse is one. Building and filling of wetlands is number two. And then apart from that, naturally, Accra is a low-lying area. But the buffer that saves or helps Accra is what we call the Ramsar site, the Densu Basin, that is around Wida, all those areas getting to Dansuman area. All those areas, we have lagoons and open places that for many, many years, anytime it rains, the flood of water or the runoff water from the hills will descend there, sit there for months, even beyond 1 year, and then gradually it will be getting into the sea. But now, if you get there, you will see that they have sold all those places and people are filling the places and building. So naturally, anytime it rains now, you will find the rain coming back into the city. And that is why we are going there demolishing the houses. But the structures, we have not demolished all of them. Some are still there. Some of the debris that we have demolished, we are collecting some of the debris. If you get to Trefe area, getting to Peshi Lagoon area, we have collected most of the debris there that we demolished. The Director General led a team to collect the debris. But that will not end the flooding in the city because human attitude is still in existence, and then also the natural factor is also there. Accra itself is a low-lying area, like I mentioned, so we need to do more. You can also see that government is doing well by constructing a lot of the drains now, especially the Gary project is taking care of some of the drains. But as they are constructing, people are filling them with refuse, like you mentioned. So we need to do more, like you are engaging us now. We are educating the public. So it is something that we should continue. We should sustain it so that we can mitigate it.
Finally, how are you supporting those who were affected by the floods yesterday?
Those that were affected by the flood, yesterday, apart from the floods that we had a building that collapsed behind, that is West Africa Senior High School. We had the fire disaster at the Central Business District, that is the Central Police Station area. All the victims are being taken care of. As I'm talking to you now, our trucks have loaded relief items to the fire victims. And then the flood victims also in Adenta, we have almost registered about half of them. The registration is ongoing. Relief items is also being released to them. And the injured are also being taken care of. 3 of them are at the military hospital, 1 at the University of Ghana Medical Center, and then the dead woman is also at the police morgue.
And just sorry to interrupt, sir. Just for clarity, these people who were injured was as a result of the building collapse. Have we recorded any injuries or casualties with regard to the floods?
Yes, as for the flood, 1 person died. A young boy died at Adenta, that is around Anakrum, and this afternoon the body was found and the body has been taken to the police morgue by the police.
Grateful for your time this evening. We'll stay in touch. That's Mohammed Abubakar Chafaram. He's senior officer, the Inspectorate Department of NATMO, and we've been engaging him on the assessment of yesterday's floods. You just heard him refer to The building collapse in Adenta area. Well, the Lankwantanan Medina Municipal Assembly says it will push for the arrest and prosecution of the developer of that building in alleged defiance of a stop work order issued by the Assembly. The collapse, which occurred on Wednesday, claimed one life and left some injured. Speaking to the media after inspecting the site on Thursday, June 4, 2026, the MCE, Ibrahim Faila Husseini, disclosed the Assembly had approved only a single-story structure for the project, but the developer proceeded to construct a two-story building.
So they stopped him and he refused to listen to that. So some way, somehow, he found his own means to move to the two-story. So that is what we are in now. And we are going to arrest him. We will not spare that. The law must bite. And therefore, we will take him. So we are now looking for him.
Moving forward, are you going to demolish buildings of this sort?
Oh, yes. There are plenty of this that we've already started. In fact, as of last 2 weeks, Mr. Free, I think we demolished about 4. Last 2 weeks, we demolished about 4. Little did we know that something like this is going to happen. But you see, like people say, sometimes when you are planning, you should remember that the bigger planner is Almighty. So he is giving us this as a test case to see that there are more of this nature, not only in Medina or Lampantana Medina Municipal Assembly, but across the nation. We should ensure that the right thing is being adhered to, and that is what we are going to champion for henceforth.
So this very incident would have been avoidable. It could have avoided. Yeah.
Certainly, my brother, this situation could have been avoidable if the building owner or the owner of the building would have listened to the former engineer. He would have stopped this construction. By refusing to understand, thinking that it is my property, I have the right to build, although, and I'm sending this caution to all developers, although it is your property, it is your land, it is your money, but remember, when such calamities happen, it is not you, it is the Abronye or the government that will be pulled upon, just like what is happening today. The regional minister, the sector minister himself, was outside, but he moved because of this particular issue. So why should we wait for such things to happen? So automatically we are going to embark on such projects and make sure that we bring all to its finality.
You just heard the MCE for Lankwantanan, Ibrahim Faila Husseini, speaking there to George Quaining when he visited the site of the building collapse. Let's stay on issues regarding floods, but away from Accra. The National Disaster Management Authority is threatening to demolish all structures developed in water retention areas in Sekondi Takoradi. Now, this comes on the heels of recorded flood across the Western Region capital following Thursday dawn's downpour. Irama Smith reports.
The Sekondi Takoradi Metro Directorate of NADMO has been inundated with emergency calls from flood-affected residents in the Saman, Ijamobakam, Airport Ridge, Kansabrado and Bakadu communities following a downpour which started in the early hours of Thursday. At Ijamobakam, residents have identified structural development as a major water receptacle by some private individuals as the cause of the flood.
New buildings now we see waterlogged area no. A bit na me hunu. Ahali first no nsu oyensu kwan. Bridge na adinya da ba sisi ano atwa na asase nya amankofo. And we see na na dey so afele gates no. Ni si anu nsu twa. Entum nsunu mponya kwan mba bebi modo siti ni nya no so isi a chapu da no si echi wona ye hunu ebi ni woni fe no sisi ni ma ebi mpo na ehu a sisi a tinya kan tinya kan no amanya na ye wasa na ye nwole chi no
every blessed year bia it's no you na ye biggest problem pa ni na here bridge no bridge kesno we see and bridge no we no watch no, but
for a recent dredging exercise in the community, the flood could have been worse. All air drains had overflown their banks, cutting off a number of households. Responding to the emergency, Metro Director for NADMO, Alhaji Abubakar Kamal, says the Assembly will commence an operation to demolish all structures sitting on waterways.
If it's about the dredging, we have dredged well over 800 meters just last week from this community just to prevent flooding. But the area has flooded again. So that should tell you that the dredging alone may not be the solution. So we now have to take a look at the unauthorized structures that were built around the retention area in this place. And that is what we intend to do now moving forward. So we would entreat the general public, those building on areas that ought not to be developed, retention areas, Ramsar sites, and so on and so forth, they should be mindful that NADMO in STMA, we are coming after them because we cannot continue doing things the way it is now.
Irama Smith, TV3 News, 2nd Takrady.
You're listening to a Hot Edition on 3FM. I'm Bernice Abubeidu Lansa. We've been talking about the floods in Accra and in other parts of the country and having conversations on how the recurring problem can be solved. Do stay with us. We'll be back with more after these messages.
Every woman deserves hair that looks and feels amazing. It starts with the
live on 3FM 92.7 here in Accra. Bernice Abubeidu Lansa, and still on flood issues. Many of you who are listening to us are either cleaning up after flood waters forcefully entered your homes, or you're still trying to recover from the shock and the trauma of it. So we're speaking solutions tonight, and we'll be speaking to a member of GARID. If you don't know, GARID is the Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project, and it works to improve flood risk and solid waste management in the Odo River Basin and improve access to basic infrastructure and services in the targeted flood-prone, low-income communities in the Greater Accra region. Mr. Alfred Kwesi is a development planner, and he joins me on the phone for more. Grateful for your time this evening, sir. And I understand that you're in Koforidua. There's currently an engagement happening to develop a 10-year plan to try and deal with this flooding situation, but we've had years of interventions. Do we know as of now why we have failed to resolve this perennial flood issue?
Yeah, your line is a little thin. Just a little louder the next time. But I assume you're asking me. I was at Koforidua. We just come out of Accra.
Right.
And we were there. We're working on a plan for the next period of 10 years. But before I go there, let me say that yesterday, 11 years ago exactly, 3rd June 2015, that we had the worst kind of flooding in Ghana in terms of impact, significant to Accra. That year, about 53,000 people were affected, including the death of about 150 officially reported. Damage to property was about $55 million. And at that time, it was estimated that you need $105 million to reconstruct what was lost. So it's not an easy thing to be at the same page 11 years later, and we are still talking about how to handle. At that time, 2015, the government of Ghana, in collaboration with the World Bank and the UP, a number of research were done as to why there was that flooding periodically. I mean, almost every 10 years, and it was becoming too much. Several weaknesses were found, but the key of them, among them, was that all the assemblies, in spite of the fact that they are contiguous, meaning they share border with one another, all of them around the Odo Basin, they were planning and doing their own thing according to their own individual priorities without reference to the next assembly. So if my priority, Assembly A, is to desalt my drain in front of me, and I share border with Assembly B, if Assembly B priority is not to continue where I stopped this year, then what I have done means nothing at all. So from that 2015 and 2016 as well, the research completed, and then by 2020, 2021, Gary project was born. The Gary project, Greater Accra Resilient Integrated Development, was born. The 17 assemblies that abut the Odo River and 5 other basins were put together as a starting point to group them and to give them the support and then train them in terms of capacity and help them to ensure that they can fight together the flooding issue. Among the basins that involve include Odo, the West Kivu Basin, Lofa Basin, Peshi Basin, Sakumo Basin, and then Bensu Basin. And then from that time, about the last 4 years, there was a suspension for a year. Every year, each of these 17 assemblies receive about 420,000 Ghana cedis to mitigate flood effects or kind of manage it. But realize that we still haven't gotten far because they are working as individual assemblies. So what we are doing now, a part of the program, of the GAP program was that let these 17 assemblies prepare a joint plan. A joint plan means that all of them have come together. And the key thing, or the only thing in the plan is how do we manage the flood system. So the technical committee, they pick one person from each of the assembly, made up the plans, engineers, budget officers, sanitation officers, all of them, 17 people. You group them and say, give us a plan. And the MCs of the 17 assemblies is like the board of this agreement.
Right.
It was not the previous government the last 2 years. And then when they left, the new government, thank God, continued.
Okay.
So today at Cooperatia, we have prepared the first draft to be approved by the MMCs of these 17 assemblies. What we're going to do in this plan is that all of them have agreed. They have signed an agreement, we call it participation agreement. The agreement is that I have centered myself to join this 17 group of assemblies to participate in any program that will stop flooding. Number 2, they have agreed to submit a percentage of their district assembly commitment and then the IGF, a uniform percentage. Everybody brings 2% or 5% to the base fund. There are other sources of funding, PPP they will do, insurance and law. And then what the government will give them. Thankfully, there is about 2 more years to go. So the 420,000 that will be given to them as being done already will go into this pool fund, one envelope, put all the money in it. At the beginning of each year, the MMC will direct the technical team, give us an action plan, and tell us what we should do. When they prepare the action plan, they'll go and show it to the MCs for them to agree.
Mr. Poku, you've laid out a very detailed, intricate plan, and I know there's more you'd like to share with us, but the problem is that it appears that this is not being treated with the sense of urgency that it deserves. Earlier this year, the Ghana Metro warned us that we'll receive higher than usual rains, and one would expect that the municipal assemblies would have been proactive in dealing with this matter. Why are we still at the point of trying to figure things out and at the point of still having conversations?
Unless you know, otherwise, everybody will look as if the assemblies are not proactive. I remember if you go to Garrett office and go to assemblies one by one, the contract that has been signed and the work that are going on is enormous. But the rain pattern, formerly it was 10 year, and this has been 11, this is the 11th year. Normally, once in a while, it exceeds the normal rainfall volume. And therefore, whatever you have done, it will overtake you. Today, one of the conclusions came up with, right now, in this month of June and July, no engineering work can be done. Because it's raining.
And that's exactly why I'm asking the question that I'm asking, because the Ghana Meteorological Authority, and to give them some credit this time, has been very proactive with releasing alerts. And so you realize that people are even aware before a rainstorm hits. I'm looking at a video right now of a storm drain. I'm yet to establish exactly where it is. But you can see that storm drain choked with filth, a lot of plastic waste.
That is a good word.
And so that is also the Assembly's responsibility, waste management and city planning and all these things. And so my question is, why are we not treating this with the sense of urgency that it deserves? You just mentioned that Garrett has been in existence for some time. You're not just starting work. So why are we not seeing the impact of the existence of all these bodies and assemblies and district agencies and departments that are responsible for making this a thing of the past?
Number one, we don't even need a meteorological agency to remind us. Everybody in Accra knows that June, July, August, it will rain. The amount will differ from year to year. So the assemblies will not only wait until the Metro tell them that's going to. When the Metro gave them information, just said about 3 weeks ago, they were not waiting for the Metro. If you go to the assembly one by one, and go to Garrett office and they show you what they are doing. For example, last year we didn't have this kind of the extent we are seeing today. 2 years ago it was minimal and so on. But I'm telling you, for every 10 years, and this time it was 11, the volume of the rainfall would always exceed the normal planning. So the assemblies are working. They are doing work. Works are going on. Today, if we go to even the places where it has flooded, you see a contractor and his work, and the machines that have been abandoned for today until the rains subside. So work is going on, and if all that you have is 420,000 to work with in a year, you can only do 420,000 work. You're talking about choked drains. Today we learned something interesting, that an area around Abosokai, earlier this year there was choking and flooding. They went and that opened the drain. And engine blocks and lorry ties were inside the drain. Who put the engine block there? It's a human being.
It could be flood waters. It could be flood waters from earlier flooding occurrences.
Come again?
Please, you can proceed.
Right. So I'm saying that we would need the support of the people living around the drains to help us manage it. Even if we do all the drains, give it the width it deserves and the depth it deserves. And human beings go and drop engine blocks, car engine blocks, and tag into it. What else would you say?
Right.
It is not natural. It is not technical. It is human, self-inflicted flooding that we are experiencing.
All right. So finally,
this is all the biggest of the challenge. So you will spend money to hire a contractor, pay him to place a kind of cement and drain. And we have to spend money to educate people not to put waste in it. And we have to spend money to let people go around to see whether we can arrest people who are doing that.
Well noted, Mr. Peku. Finally, from me, what are the timelines involved with your just ended meeting and the steps to take in dealing with this problem? What timelines have you set for yourselves?
Well, we are finishing, for example, this plan we are working on by August. You'll finish, you commission it, and therefore, whatever work that needs to start. Technically, we have done everything that must be done because we have identified in each particular assembly the hotspots, and we have designed what must be done at each of the hotspots, the kind of engineering solution, and so on. The communication plan we do. By August, this will be launched, and we believe that August the rain would have stopped or subsided, and we have from August to the next year, May, something would be done to say that we may not have to wait for the metro to tell us what we have to do, but we all have to start working and getting things done.
I'm grateful for your time tonight. That was Alfred Kwesi Opoku. He's a development planner and he works with Garrett, and he's just been telling us about the plans to deal with the flooding situation in Accra. Away from the floods, the Accra High Court has ordered that NPP Bono Regional Chairman aka Abronye, be remanded into police custody after he failed to meet his bail condition of depositing his travel documents. His lawyers on Thursday prayed for his bail conditions, which required him to deposit his passport, to be varied, citing the need for their clients to travel to the UK. And Abronye is facing charges of offensive conduct, conducive to the breach of peace, and publication of false news of alleged derogatory remarks against a circuit court judge. His lawyers, led by Daniel Mate Ado, said the client had gained admission to a school in the UK and had submitted the travel documents on May 2 prior to he being granted bail. Our man in court, Lord Edua Sari, joins us with details. Lord, what more can you share about today's proceedings?
Right, Bennett. And so today, the business of the day was for lawyers of the NPP Bono Regional Chairman to move their application to vary the bail conditions, specifically the aspect that requires him to deposit his travel documents to the registrar. Now, his reason was that Abronye is due to be in the UK by 14 June because he's gained admission to school there. And so he was praying the courts to sort of let him off so that he can travel and then go to school. He actually put in his affidavit, supplementary affidavit and affidavit in support, the letter from the UK High Commission confirming receipts of this, and then the admission letter from the school that Abronye was supposed to be going. Now, but the prosecution, led by a principal state attorney, Joshua Saki, opposed vehemently their prayer for the bail variation. Now, he indicated that on the face of it, when you look at the document that the lawyers of Abronye submitted to the court, the UK High Commission's receipts show that they submitted a document or his passport on 25th of May, showing that Abronye actually failed to deposit his passport as was required or directed by the court as part of his bail conditions, because mind you, then Abronye was granted bail on May 21st. And so he indicated that by just that act alone, it showed that Abronye had disrespected the court and had not met his bail conditions, but managed to walk nonetheless. And so after listening to the arguments, the presiding judge in the matter, Justice Abdul Basit, indicated that that singular act by the NPP Bono regional chairman to disregard or disrespect the court's order of depositing his passport to the court register, because of that act, he's not going to grant him the bail variation request, right, and so then ordered him to be remanded into police custody until Abronye surrenders his passport to the court registrar.
We understand that he was not in court himself. Are you able to confirm if he has been remanded as we speak?
No, he didn't show up in court. When I asked his lawyer, he indicated that yes, Abronye could not show up in court on just an advisory format, for want of a better word, because he's not being remanded yet. It was only after the court order that then we knew that the police may go to wherever Abronye is and then get him arrested and remand him into police custody. But he wouldn't come to court not because he had been remanded, because at the time the court hadn't yet made those orders.
Right, and I'm asking if you're able to confirm if he has been picked up by the police as we speak.
Well, attempts to get in touch with his lawyers have failed so far, so we haven't got any comments in that regard. But after the time that we were leaving, we had gotten a communication that the police were actually on their way to carry out that order.
Right, and that's our man in court, Lord Idwasare, finishing us with details. If you just joined us, the news is that the Accra High Court has ordered that the NPP Bono Regional Chairman Kwame Bafo, also known as Abronye, be remanded into police custody after he failed to meet his bail condition of depositing his travel document. You're listening to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bernice Abubedu Lansa, and it's now time to bring you sports with Andrews Sefa.
Face Mexico, a repeat of the 2010 opener. Teams have already started reporting to the United States, Mexico, and Canada ahead of the global showpiece. The Black Stars did arrive in Washington in the early hours of Thursday morning following their friendly game in Cardiff against Wales, which ended in a 1-1 draw. Now, in view of Ghana's preparations for the tournament, forward Brandon Thomas Asante says he remains hopeful of the team putting up a strong showing on the world stage.
I mean, it was a really good test. Of course, we've got the World Cup to prepare for, so we knew what the agenda was. It's been a week or so where we've been waiting for everyone to get together. Of course, everyone plays for their different clubs, so we're waiting for everyone to be united, and we've had that in the last few days and few weeks, and we've been able to listen to the manager. I mean, there's some extremely talented players, and of course, we're a group who we all care about each other. We're brothers, you know. So whenever you see someone get injured, it's sad, and you want to honour them on the pitch with our opportunity that we've got. And also, we've all been speaking to each other, always dropping each other messages. So strength to them, and we're going to try and do them. Of course, I mean, we've got 2 weeks to prepare for that now. So we're definitely going to be listening to the manager. There's going to be a lot of meetings and, of course, a lot of work to do as well. But today was another step in that direction of getting some competitive minutes. Of course, the main thing was coming out unscathed and being able to play together. Of course, like I said, we've been waiting to be together as a squad. The likes of, Antoine, who came a bit later with his celebrations. So we've all been, we've been waiting for that. But now we're together. We got through today, and we're going to keep on working.
And so that was Brandon Thomas Asante, forward of the Black Stars speaking. Still on the Black Stars, former Ghana captain Asamoah has hailed midfielder Caleb Irenchi following the youngsters' performance against Wales. Jan described Irenchi, who scored his first Ghana goal, as brilliant.
I think Irenchi is a natural talent. The way he's rising up is very, very incredible. And yesterday, everybody saw what he did. Not only the goal, his positioning, his passing, the way he follows attack and everything. I think he's an all-round player. And of course, wearing the number 3 shirt, I feel proud. Somebody wearing the number 3 shirt and then scoring a goal. This is not the first time. I think Jonathan Mensah also. Jonathan Mensah, the first time he wore the number 3 shirt. I wasn't playing. He scored. So it looks like the goals are in the number 3. So yeah, honestly, I'm very, very happy for Irenchi.
And so that was Asamoah speaking about Caleb Irenchi. Elsewhere, Morocco have touched down in the United States to begin their preparations for the 2026 World Cup. The Atlas Lions, who were semi-finalists in the last edition of the competition, face Scotland, Haiti and Brazil in Group C. Now, upon arrival in the United States, skipper of the side, Achraf Hakimi, says the team is ready to compete.
We are really happy to be here, to be part of this important tournament. We are really excited to start and to feel the support of all Moroccan people in America. Of course, we are a little bit tired. It was a long flight, but really happy. Like I said, we are happy to be here. We can't wait to start training and see the atmosphere, like I said, of the Moroccan and all the support in America. So really happy and excited to be here.
And so that was Morocco defender Achraf Hakimi, who's also the captain of the side, speaking ahead of the 2026 World Cup. Now, finally, before we go, let's bring you this announcement. And you'd have to know that if you want to study in the United States, in the United Kingdom, don't miss this opportunity to meet representatives from the United Kingdom. That if you are looking to study abroad, you'd have to ensure that you don't have to miss this opportunity to enroll in the United Kingdom, the Dundee and the University of Kent, all the way from the UK, to join us on this Thursday at the British High Commission. As I did mention, bringing an end to Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Andrew Sifa Bamfo.